words. I am a very ordinary Indian citizen, a very ordinary officer of the Indian Army who have rendered my duty to the nation. And it is a pleasure to talk to these young students, young citizens of our country who are about to launch themselves into and contribute towards the development of India in the next 20-25 years. All of you are pillars of India's success on which our nation is going to stand after 10 to 15 years. Each one of you is important for the nation. Whatever you do after your graduation, in whatever way, you are going to serve our country. Coming from such an elite institution, I have no doubts in my mind, that all of you are going to excel in whichever field you want to go. But like each and every person at this stage of his life, when you're at the anvil of choosing a career, you've just finished a graduation or about to finish a graduation, there is always a dilemma. What should I do? The same dilemma I also faced 32 years back when I was graduating from St. Xavier's College, Mumbai. And I took a decision for myself on my own. And today I'm in front of you after 32 years with no regrets, but only happiness and only contentment that yes, I took the right decision. So decisions you must all take. Decisions you must all take and work towards achieving your goals. I always promote my students to be brave, to be courageous, to take their own decisions. Today, the world, immense knowledge is available to you, which was not available to us in our times. At the click of a mouse or the click of a finger, where you can know about any profession, any branch you want to study, everything is available to you. In fact, even to apply to not only colleges in India, but colleges abroad, everything is based on your fingertips. We had a very different time. Today, you have information overload. Enough information is available on everything. So, in this coming next 1 hour, I will be basically helping you discover how to take that decision. And because I have served in the Indian Army for about 30 years, I would be talking to you about this career option also. For girls, for the last about 15 to 20, about 18 years, the women have been taking equal part in the defense forces as officers. So let me start by showing you a small presentation. With the help of a presentation, what is the dilemma of the career option and what we can do to take the right decision. So the dilemma is, should I stop my studies and go for a job, or should I go for higher studies? This first dilemma needs to be very clear in your mind. What is to be done? Now, each one of you may have different parameters to choose this. Some of you may be having compulsions at home in terms of finances, in terms of other things that you may like to go immediately for a job. Some of you who have adequate support system in place probably could think of higher studies. In the higher studies section also, there are dilemmas. What to go in for? So let's go over what are the options available. Traditionally, these are the options for higher studies. Traditionally, because I know the college in which you are studying is predominantly a humanities stream, most of you. So doing specialization in your streams would be one traditional choice to make. That is, go for masters, go for doctorate, and going to the teaching line. Professional courses could also be considered, for which sometimes the prerequisites can be interdisciplinary. For example, the first point regarding doing an MBA, or the second one doing Master of Public Administration. Such courses do not have a strong prerequisite that you have to come from a particular background. It is open to everyone. The choice is yours. The courses which are there after that are specialized courses in which they may require you to have a graduate degree. Now coming to some interdisciplinary master's degrees program. Now, public policy, Master of Public Policy, Master of Public Administration, International Relations, Development Studies, Social Work, Gender Studies, Environmental Studies, or Language Studies. These are certain fields which are open to all kind of graduates. And why we should choose these fields, I will go one by one and also tell you, if you feel that yes, in your particular field for which you have done graduation, the avenues do not exist, or you're looking at a different avenues, right? Then these fields could be picked up and chosen. And if you are looking at going abroad for studies, I think today's environment, the generation already knows about these prerequisites, standardized exams. I don't need to amplify on it. Let me go to these interdisciplinary master's courses like public health. So some of the institutions which are offering them in our country, I have listed them. This course would get you into jobs in the government sector, in hospitals, in NGOs, and in certain global institutions also. Public health, as you are now seeing, the present pandemic is coming up as a very important field. And after this pandemic is over, it will still stay as one of the very, very important fields. So this could also be considered as one of the interdisciplinary master's courses. Second would be public policy. We have a lot of schools and colleges and universities who are offering courses on this, and there are good job opportunities who are coming from these elite institutions. Again, your employers in this courses, post this courses would be government agencies, the ministries, the think tanks, the NGOs, and even some private players in this field. Next subject we can talk of is international relations and studies. I myself a science graduate, but a PhD in international relations. Okay. Now, the top universities I have just listed, but then these courses are available in almost all Indian universities. And your employers could be the government agencies, think tanks, NGOs, academia, research institutions, such kind of things. And salary starts of a research scholar, research fellow, not less than 25, it would go up to 50 in certain particular jobs. Development studies, social work is another field which is open to all. And I would say this is a field in which a lot of satisfaction you will get, other than a lot of respect and a reasonably good salary after you complete your masters. Most of these students of these institutions, they are placed right before they even finish their masters. Environmental studies, yes, it is there in India, though it's a very nascent field coming up slowly. But yes, there are good institutions, good places where you can do these studies as well as get a good job and get a lot of satisfaction in these jobs. Now, urban planning is another field, though mostly here in the urban planning field, people with some engineering background, some architectural background would be there. So this is a kind of a niche field which each one of us may not be comfortable with. But then in case you have the acumen, probably you would still go in for such courses. Asian studies and other language degrees is something, if you have a knack of languages or you have the knack of going into the international arena, there are schools of international studies. And JNU has got a SIS, School of International Studies. DU has got an Institute of Asian Studies. So these are the places where you can go and do your studies. Now, I want to now touch upon what are the kind of, so I spoke to, till now I was talking about the higher studies. Now I would be going about what is the second option, that is the job option. Now, in case we choose a job option after graduation, now let's see the pros and cons. So obviously the two types of jobs after graduation would be government jobs, which could be state level, central level, other civil services, defense services. Now, a point regarding these jobs, today in India, any job vacancy when you are going for are highly competitive. That means moment there is one vacancy, there's a beeline of people who apply for it. I am reminded of one a news clippet about 7, 8 years back. It came in the newspaper. It came in the English daily newspaper, which said that there was a vacancy of a peon in UP state. They had taken out some vacancies of peon, about some 15, 20 vacancies, and the qualification required was 10th pass, and he should know how to ride a cycle. This was the prerequisite, the qualifications required. You should be 10th pass and you should know how to ride a cycle. Now, the news said that 17,000 people had applied for those 20 jobs, 20 vacancies. And they calculated that out of these 17,000 people, there were 12,000 graduates who had applied, by about 3 to 4,000 postgraduates who had applied, and dash, dash, dash. And out of that, 500 something were PhDs who had applied for this job. 20 jobs requiring class 10th qualification, 17,000 applicants. Out of that, about 12, 13,000 graduates, about 4, 5,000 postgraduates, and it especially gave a number 500 something 49 as PhDs. Just imagine the competition. There was nobody who was just 10th pass in the applications. So government jobs have got their own uh, advantages. Then the selection procedure is very long. Any job you apply for, from the time the advertisement comes, from the final merit list and selection, it takes about a year plus. Then it's a mid-level income, and the increase would also not be that, it will be very gradual in your salaries. Yes, job security is the main thing which people are looking at in the government jobs, right? And now, what are the government jobs? I think all of you must be aware about state level civil services, central level civil services, defense services, CPOs, and there's so many host of other government jobs where you have a lot of job security, but a very labyrinthine selection procedure. Then we come to private jobs. Now, it's an instant job. You apply, they call you for interview. If they like you, they take you. After some time, they don't like you, they fire you. Generally, after graduations, after a normal graduation, a job, if you take, may not be highly paying in the private sector. However, in some good companies, once they take a graduate and he stays put there with them, slowly, slowly, he rises up the ladder. And they also offer him time for his higher studies. So, private job at this stage probably would be a question mark. If you're keen for it, if there are some other compulsions, you can go for it. But certainly, I would recommend, even if you go for it, work in it for some time, enhance your qualifications, and then get into it at a slightly higher level. The third field, of course, which is now open to men and women, young and old, everyone, is entrepreneurship. Start your own enterprise. Right. I was reading a book. I think it's there in my shelf. This is about this book called Startup Nation. This is about the country of Israel. This book talks of how every young man and woman of Israel dreams of becoming an entrepreneur. It's a fantastic book. If you want to read it, you can pick it up. I also ordered it online and became a New York bestseller. Startup Nation. I did this at very late in life after I had my experience, but I wanted to take a plunge. I wanted to see how you work, and I think 2.5 years down the line, I feel quite satisfied that I've created an enterprise and it is doing reasonably well. Now, let me come talk about when are we looking at these jobs, how should we prepare ourselves? The first and foremost aspect when you are a job seeker is to identify the area in which you want to do the job and then to know what are they looking for. Suppose I want to be a IAS officer. So what are they looking for? What kind of a student are they looking for? What is the competitive exam I must go through? Suppose you are looking at the defense services. You should know what are the defense service looking for? What kind of person are they looking for? After that, next point is you got to improve your domain knowledge. And third, know about the company or organization you're interested in. These are the first three things at this stage of your career when you are in the dilemma to know about, to read, and like I said, today there's information overload. I think for anything and everything, you have Google and YouTube. See it, imbibe in it, it will help you take your decision. Second aspect, when you go for these interviews, are I found I've interviewed so many students, I have no number to talk. In the corporate world also, as well as in the defense forces for officers also. And these next two bullets is a perennial shortfall which I've seen when I get a student and I talk to the student. I find at one stage they're good in their academic knowledge, but they are absolutely unaware about their surroundings, general awareness, current affairs. Now, a lot of jobs you may ask, how does these things make a difference? It makes a difference in the leadership role. And why I'm talking of this to you, students of such elite college, is I presume all of you, when you launch yourself, are not going to launch yourself as the base level of any job. You are going to launch yourself at a leadership level. And when we launch ourselves at a leadership level, this bullet becomes a prerequisite. No employer wants a dumb employee. Let me tell you that at the bottom line. Even if I'm choosing a very, very base level employee for my institute or for my organization, even a person I'm choosing whose job is just to deliver some dark or some letters here and there, I am looking at intelligent guy so that he understands my orders and does not do mistakes. So this is something which is being checked in all the interviews, whether you in the corporate world, whether you go in the government. In government, of course, it is in quite a lot amount, but in the corporate also, invariably, they have different rounds. They'll have a professional round and they'll have an HR round in which they will see your personality. And good awareness, good knowledge, and good knowledge of current affairs is something which is part of a personality of a person. On daily basis, I'm interacting with students and students and students. And you will be surprised. And I myself aghast when I ask them some questions. Who's the president of India? And they're thinking. Who's the vice president of India? They don't know. Who's the chief of army staff? They don't know. Who's the external affairs minister? They don't know. Then I ask you which state you belong to. Sir, I belong to so and so state. Who's the chief minister? Who's the governor? They have no idea. Tell me some geographical details about your state. They have no idea. We live in a particular town. We have no idea about that town. That talks about the awareness level. A aware leader is always a better leader. Because once you're aware, your mental faculties are working, you will be able to solve the problems of your organizations and deliver what they're looking for. Then comes the next part, where which is helpful in all kind of interviews, is your soft skills and your communication skills. Now, these two aspects, I always relate it with something like, this computer which is in front of me. My hard disk is very full of knowledge, but if these windows on which we are communicating, they crash, then that 1 TB hard disk is of no use. Similarly, when we are presenting ourselves in front of somebody, we may have a lot of knowledge in our brain, in our hard disk, our brain, but if we can't communicate, then that knowledge is of no use. It will not be able to reach the target audience. Hence, this building up your communication skills becomes very important. Alongside this, very closely linked to communication skill is your confidence and public speaking. When you are going for interviews, most of the interviewers, they see your confidence level alongside your communication skills, right? So keep this in mind that when you are presenting yourself for any job interview, you got to communicate well and you got to communicate with a lot of confidence. I remember when I was in my final year and we had this one company coming us for campus placement. So they started with first round with GD and second round in our college. Out of 300 students of final year, we were shortlisted to 150 for the second round, then to 60 in the third round, then to 20 in the fourth round. And I reached the fifth round and we were 10 of us. We were called to a five-star hotel in Mumbai for the last round of interview. And this was with the vice president, human resource. So he asked me, okay, Mr. Mohinder. So I was like candidate like you, 20 years and a half, and sitting in the posh office at Oberoi Towers in Mumbai. And he's asking me, suppose we don't take you, what is your options with you? I said, sir, I was sitting like this, and I still remember I borrowed a tie in college. We never had a tie. I borrowed and I was wearing a tie. And I said, sir, I think there's no way you will not take me because in all your tests which you've done, I've done the best. And I'm sure you're going to take me, sir. He says, no, just think that we are not taking you. Then what choice you have? I said, sir, I can't even think because I've done so well and I think I'm the right person, what you're looking for. So this man did not know what to do. He said, this guy is not even believing that he can be rejected. So he sent for the third time. He says, no, okay, fine, you are good and we know and all that. But suppose the vacancies don't come and there are some issues and we are not able to pick up anybody this time, then what do they do? So by that time, I had cleared the written exam for the UPSC for as an officer for CDS entry in Defense Forces. I said, sir, if you don't take me, I've already cleared the written exam and I'm very confident I'll make it in the interview and I join the Indian Army and serve there. So he said, have you already cleared the written? I said, yes, sir. The first phase is over and I'm getting my interview call next month and I'm sure I'm going to do well in that. So lo and behold, After 1 hour, they announced that out of those 10, 3 names, the final names, and I was one of them. Of course, I did not join, and I joined the Indian Army after 1 month when I had my interview. Right. So, confidence along with communication skill plays an important role when you're facing your future employer. Coming to the last part, any employer wants a team player. They're not looking at a person who is morose, who is dull, who is too serious at your young age. They're not looking at a person who is doing fault finding by nature. He's not. He's kind of a lonely person. They're not looking at that. Except for some very very niche jobs, which is only individualistic job, which you have to do your work. Most of the cases, I would say 99.9% of the cases, we are looking at a person who's pleasant, who can work, who's friendly, who can be spoken to, who can work in teams, and subsequently trained to lead the teams. That is what we are actually looking for when we do interviews. So now I'll be now. Shall I take a small break here and maybe take some questions before I come to this your choice as the young girls of Loreto as a career in the defense forces? So should I take up some questions now? Anyone has questions? You can either type it or if ma'am permits, you can ask me with your videos.
I think students can questions in the chat box as they come in segment. If there are any coming now, or maybe towards the end, whatever you're coming. Students, if I think time the question, so why don't you go ahead?
Okay, I'll go ahead and we'll move to the next part. And this part, we're going to talk as defense forces as a career choice, and especially related to girls. And let me tell you, in a big way, the girls have come into the defense forces, and this year, even the Supreme Court has given a decision that they will be given equal opportunities and they will not serve as short service officers only, but as a permanent commissioned officers. Erstwhile, girls had started their career in defense forces as doctors. Initially, they were only taken as doctors and nurses in the officer rank. But in the 90s to 93, the services sector of the army, that is the Army Service Corps, Army Ordnance Corps, they opened up the gates to take lady officers, and subsequently the engineering branches of the armed forces, all engineering branches, have also opened their doors and now taking girls alongside boys as officers. This photo, I can tell you, this lady officer is my student, Nidhi Dubey, who graduated 2 years back, and today she's a captain posted in Udhampur. Coming to the career choices, how to get selected, how to apply, what are the lifestyle of defense forces, what does the force offer you. In the coming few slides, you will see that. Strengths of the defense forces is discipline, respect for the law, military ethos, regimental traditions, service before self, the humanitarian approach, and professional competence. I'll be basically covering why should the youth join the armed forces, life in armed forces, pay and rank structure, other service benefits, and eligibility criteria. So this is the basic credo. Ma'am, I just want to confirm the audio was audible in the videos.
No, sir. There were issues with the audio. Sometimes the audio could be heard. Sometimes it was just too soft.
Actually, that is the issue with the Google Meet, I think, not with anything. Okay, fine. They were basically indicative. I'm sure the video would have, people would have been able to understand what it's about. Right. So let me go ahead and talk about the credo. This is something we take oath on as officers. The safety, honor, and welfare of your country comes first, always and every time. The honor, welfare, and comfort of the men you command come next. Your own ease, comfort, and safety come last, always and every time. This is a credo of an army officer. He takes oath on this, and this photograph is the passing out parade of Indian Military Academy, Dehradun. So, officer and gentleman is a person trained to lead men into battle and to complete the task assigned to him. A leader, a friend, a guide for his men, a manager of humans, material, technological resources, a model of character, virtue, and valor, compassion, and determination. Difficult will be done, impossible might take some time, but it will also be done. When we compare this to, it's a very good comparison, right? Army, you may have good pay, not very high pay. It's as per the government scales. But generally, we are posted in certain areas where we have minimal expenses, right? We seldom are posted in big cities. So in small cities, small places, you have minimal expenses. High status, yeah. Active life, yeah, absolutely. Job security, yes. Enhanced qualifications, absolutely. And quality of life, very good. You see, I joined as a graduate. After about 20 years of service, I wanted to increase my qualifications. I enrolled in the university as a student in the master's degree program for 2 years. It was a paid study leave. I was getting my complete pay and the house, and I did my master's. After that, I wanted to do my PhD, and the permission was accorded. Though no leave was given, you have to do PhD in your own whatever leave you are entitled to. I did that, and I finished my careers as a doctor. Now, corporate world, you'll start with excellent pay, but exorbitant expenses, your paid status. See, when you go for corporate, what is you known for? What is your CTC? People will first thing ask you, oh, you're working for that company. What is your CTC? Right? That is what you are known for. Because designations don't make a difference. In one company, the designation of a general manager may be getting you 50,000 rupees a month only, and in another company, a general manager would be getting 5 lakh rupees a month. So designations don't matter in corporate. Your paid status matter. What is your CTC? Mostly they are desk jobs, 12 to 14 hours, no job security, learning stagnation. Whatever you join, they won't leave you to go and enhance your qualifications, and commodity oriented life.
So the audio is still pretty soft.
Yeah, I've seen this with Google Meet. Always it is there, this issue, but it's all right. I'm sure they'll get the testing of it. We can't change it to Zoom now, no, the platform.
No
It's
side.
okay. Yeah, it'll be very difficult to
Okay,
change.
not a problem. Thank you.
It's okay. It's okay. Right. So let's talk about the life in the army as an adventure. Army life will give you a lot of opportunities to take part in adventure activities. We have teams of mountaineering, car and motorcycle rally teams, whitewater rafting, scuba diving teams, hot air ballooning, ocean sailing, aero sports, water sports, and of course, all the other sports, traditional sports, shooting, wrestling, and all sports and teams. Army has a tremendous representation at the national and international level. The rank structures, you start with a lieutenant, captain, major. This is at commissioning after your training period, after 2 years, captain after 3 years, major after 6 years, lieutenant colonel, colonel, brigadier, major, lieutenant general, general. So these are the rank structures, and equivalent rank structures are there in Navy and Air Force also. Salary wise, if we say it's a very comfortable state, the DA has now gone up to 14%. At this time, the present salary of a lieutenant, that is just after finishing the training, is around 90,000 rupees a month. And other allowances are separate, which depends on the place you're posted to. In case you're posted to field areas, you get a good compensation allowance for field areas, and the salary or monthly emoluments may go up to maybe 1 lakh rupees also. So that is at the beginning, and this is other than the other perks and privileges like free housing and accommodation and travel, all these things in medical cover, all these things are in addition to the salary which you get. This is something which I've shown the other additional allowances depending on, let's say, you're posted on Siachen Glacier, you're getting about 14,000 rupees a month. Then if you got a technical qualification, there's a technical pay, special forces, para, and flying pay if you are a pilot. So all this can add up and take you to a very good monthly salary. Now just coming to a few points on how to join the defense forces. So we are basically looking for people with strong will. People with strong will, boys and girls with strong will. Eligibility criteria, you can all see it on the net. The famous website is joinindianarmy.nic.in, joinindianarmy.nic.in, which gives you 1 point information about all kind of entries as an officer in the Indian Armed Forces. Uh, Basically, the entry schemes are at 10+2 level. That is the National Defense Academy. That so far is only for boys, but the talk is on that it may even consider girls in the near future. Right now, Indian Military Academy, which is after 10+2 level entry, is only for boys. Graduate level entries are all open now for girls as well as boys. Women's Special Entry Scheme is the Short Service Commission, where every year Army, Navy, and Air Force, they take out the number of vacancies which they are looking for. Approximately, I can tell you, every 6 months, Army is taking up to 50 lady cadets, and even the Navy and Air Force, with slightly lesser in number, they are also taking in lady cadets. So we can talk in terms of approximately 70 to 80 vacancies, maybe going up to 100, including the technical entries and the non-technical entries together. Every 6 months, the other kind of vacancies which are available. Even in NCC entry, which was initially only for boys, now they have kept seats for girls also in NCC entry every 6 months. So the method is you have to appear in the UPSC written exam after graduation. In fact, since all of you are final year students, you can check it out now. The next exam which is coming up is on 8th November. For that, forms would have already gone 2 months back. But the next one, which is coming up in 2021, most likely in the month of February or March, you could see the notification on joinindianarmy.nic.in. You see the notification and you can easily apply for the first level of the UPSC exam for Short Service Commission. Like you see here, SSC women, non-technical, right? Twice a year, 19 to 25 graduation, then SSC women technical. So this is the kind of vacancies which are available, and a lot of girls today are coming in and applying in a big way. Technical and non-technical both are open for women. In fact, yesterday one of my students, she is a graduate of Delhi University. She has qualified for Air Force logistics branch and cleared her interview. Written, she had already cleared. She cleared her interview yesterday from AFSP Gandhinagar. So now, what is the procedure? The procedure is, firstly, we go in for a written exam which is conducted by UPSC called the Combined Defense Services. After that, there's a 5-day SSB procedure, which is a residential testing procedure, which is conducted at any of the 20 SSBs across the country. So SSB means Services Selection Board, and this is basically a personality test in which we keep you there for 5 days and we assess your personality in terms of finding out the suitability for the defense forces. So this 5-day involves 3 types of testing. The first is an interview, that is one-to-one interaction with the interviewing officer. The second is a psychological test. They put you through a series of psychological tests. And the third part is a group test where they make you into small teams and they give you a lot of work as a team and see your behavior, how you are interacting with the team members. So for this 5 days routine, I'll just show you. So just that, I know none of you is going for SSB immediately, but just to put the seed in your mind that how this test is so different from any other test. I have been assessor at the SSB for 6 years, assessing candidates. Every year, when I was there at Allahabad, we had about 1,26,000 candidates appearing every year. And the pass number of candidates who cleared approximately 3,000. Why this less number? Most of the candidates who are coming, girls or boys, they did not follow the dicta which I showed you. When you are looking for a job, you should know about what they are looking for. You just don't go and present yourself, मैं तो ऐसा ही हूँ, I am like this, please take me. No. When you aspire to get into a job, you should know what they're looking for. A common question asked is why you want to join the defense forces. And the most common answer which the students give is, sir, it's a childhood dream. I saw people in uniform in my village or in the city, and I used to be enamored by their looks and all that. It was a childhood dream that I also want to don the uniform. But next question when I ask, what did you do to achieve that uniform? Then they have no answer. So when you dream of a career, you must work towards that dream. Not only keep dreaming day and night and not do anything about that dream. So at this stage, you decide a career. It is good to dream about it, but then you should strive to achieve that dream, right? So this 5 days, we convert the dream into reality. You can convert your dream into reality by preparing yourself. This day one is also called as screening day. What happens? Large number of candidates appear for each vacancy. Let's say we have some 20, 30 vacancies and some 1,000 people will apply, about 500 will end up there on the day of reporting. So first day is a screening test in which we just do a kind of group discussion and see their skills, and we decide who is slightly prepared, and then we take him. So I want to just touch upon this next slide. What is Defense Forces looking for? This SSB is a kind of a short form for Services Selection Board, which is for the officer selection. So what are we looking at? As a young candidates today, young students today, you should know. Firstly, it is not that difficult to get into Defense Forces. I was like you, studying in a college and studying science, all that subjects like chemistry and zoology and botany. Yet, Army took me. What are we looking at? We are looking at four basic things in a person, an intelligent person. Who is intelligent? Should have good academic background, good general awareness, good knowledge of current events, able to handle practical problems. This is what is a definition, broad definition of an intelligent person. You just can't keep saying that I got 99%, so I'm intelligent. In terms of Defense Forces assessment, an intelligent person is that who has good academic record, may not be excellent, good academic record, who is aware about the surroundings, who is able to handle practical situations, who can take decisions, who has confidence in himself. He is the person who we are looking for. Second, we are looking at a friendly guy, a friendly person who can work in teams, who can take responsibility, right? Who can take his team for a task, get the thing done from people. That is the kind of friendly leader we are looking for. We are not looking for autocratic leaders. We are looking for friendly leaders. Thirdly, we are looking for a person who's got a lot of confidence and who's able to take decisions, who's got faith in his abilities. He doesn't deter. He decides and he achieves. This is what we are assessing. And lastly, of course, which is the courage part, the physical and mental courage, which is of utmost necessity in any career in Defense Forces. So broadly, for you to understand, I will not take too much time. I'm already touching 1 hour. So broadly for you to understand as students is, firstly, this is not a difficult career to choose. It is very much possible for each one of you to take up this as a career and showcase your talent, be a leader. So, how to prepare, that we will right now not touch upon. Maybe it will require a different interaction with those students who choose to take this career. Maybe I will tell ma'am, if those of you who are absolutely keen, I will come and take a different presentation for about 1 hour or 2 hours, which I will go into more details, more depth about how this whole assessment system works. Right. So I would like to end my presentation at this stage, and now be able to take on. These are some of the activities we are doing, training the students at our academy for the SSB. Kind of discussions they are going to. Some of them already become officers. And this guy is undergoing training. This guy is officer. This guy has become officer, right? And so yes, after those who clear the interviews are also thereafter have to undergo the medical test. And those of you who wish to know a little bit about women entry, you could see this video of Ishita Saxena, one of my students. She has spoken at length on our channel called AMAS Training Channel. How was experience at SSB? She was selected for Air Force as an officer in the logistic branch. So these are the training academies, and this is basically the branches, and that's it. So what I have spoken to all of you today is about the career choices which you can have, and I've also spoken regarding the job as well as your higher study option if you want to take that. So now, this is the end of my talk. Now, in case any one of you has any questions, I'll be too happy to answer you.
Thank you so much. It was a very interesting presentation, practical details, the requirements that one needs in the world, not just for a career in the armed forces, but also for a career otherwise. The importance of soft skills, etc. Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, ma'am, there are some questions who have typed. Should I? Can they ask the question directly, or do you want me to answer what they have typed?
So whatever is the if you would like them to switch on the videos and ask you a question, we could ask them.
That will be better, so that let it be an interactive session. I won't mind.
Sure. I think follow the order, girls, and of those who've asked the question, starting from Sadaf Mondol, followed by Vinita Ghosh. If you could please ask her your question. I think give them here. Sadaf, are you here?
Yes, ma'am.
Please go ahead, ask the question.
Good morning, sir. This is Sadaf. My question was that in this pandemic situation where the economic condition is further going down into an abysmal condition, even we are trying to increase our soft skills or even our knowledge. What do you think should be done from the side of government in order to counter this increasing unemployment?
Well, I'm sure. I think must be from the economics branch. And
No,
this,
sir. I am from
okay.
political science.
Okay, fine. That's all right. Right. So the issue is, firstly, let me be very frank with you. There is a dip in the economy, and that is world over. And the reason for it, we all know. And the best part is, it will get over. We will bounce back into our growth, what we are initially put ourselves in. Now, coming to the unemployment, you see, unemployment was there earlier also. It is there, and it will remain. Right. Now, unemployment is not there in this organized sector in which you people are going to launch yourself. Right. So, per se, the students who are doing well, they are going to get their jobs. There is no dearth of jobs. No vacancies have been curbed. All private sector has opened up, barring a very few sectors. And that too, the people affected are at the slightly lower level, which will bounce back, So there is no abysmal condition that the economy is, going down and down and down. It is not like that. There has been a dip the world over. The trade has halted, the things have halted, but it will catch up. So let's give it some time. Let's give it another 3 to 4 months. Things are already opening up. Everybody is trying to already live with this pandemic, and we will get over it. And I really don't think this is going to become a very serious issue. So as students who are into this, looking at a career, so I really don't think there should be any worry as such that overall there's going to be unemployment. Whatever vacancies are there, private sector is hiring, government sector is hiring, everybody is hiring, right? So I personally feel that there's nothing of a alarming situation as such in the near future. Yeah, what's the next question?
So the next question is from Vinita Ghosh. Vinita, are you here?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, go ahead, ask your question.
So, how can civilian psychologists serve in the Indian Army? I don't know much about this field.
Yeah. So, you see, civilian psychologists are serving in a big way. Firstly, the DRDO has a branch office called as DIPR, Defense Institute of Psychological Research, Timarpur, New Delhi. Just Google it, you'll find it. In that, we have large number of psychologists who are doing a lot of psychological studies, as well as they are present in the selection system for officers. Also, the psychologists are taken in and sent on deputation for various other selection procedures where the psychologist opinion is valued and taken. So there is a good career available in the psychology field for civilian psychologists also.
Thank you, sir.
So our next question is from Surbhi Jha. Surbhi, are you here?
Yes, ma'am. Thank
Go
you
ahead.
so much. A very good afternoon, sir. Thank you so much for this inspiring session. Sir, as you talked about the enrollment of girls in the army, so sir, why isn't there a direct examination like NDA through which girls could enter directly into the army, and instead they have to take the SSC examinations after the completion of their graduation?
Surbhi, there is a direct entrance exam alongside boys, which you are competing only at 10 plus 2 level. It is not there, which I said will be introduced, but in that way also you will have to go through the SSB. Even for NDA, you have to, the two-tier system is you have to give the written as well as the SSB. So SSB is a must for any officer career in the Indian Armed Forces. So right now, all the girls are coming in through the graduate level entries. But let's see in the near future if the government opens up NDA for girls, it will be a welcome move. And let me tell you, Sainik schools, which are the feeder institutions for National Defense Academy, have already started taking girls from class 7th onwards. So I'm sure when they reach class 12th along with boys, probably that will be the time when NDA will have to open up for girls also. And then they will be coming in for permanent commission. So right now, OTA Chennai is opened up for boys and girls training, and the seats are announced for both technical as well as non-technical entry. That means BTECs as well as normal graduates, BAs can come in.
Thank you, sir.
So our
Next.
next question is from Yukta Devan. She is also an NCC cadet, if I remember correctly. Yukta, are you here with us?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, go ahead.
Good afternoon and Jai Hind, sir. SSB interview is SSB interview is regarded as one of the toughest interviews. Why is it that only a handful are able to crack this interview?
You yourself answered it. It is known to be the toughest. Then if it is the toughest, only handful will crack it, no? Right. Why it is the toughest is we are looking for leaders. We are looking for people who can command. When these girls come to me for training for SSB, I tell them, look, you are coming into the armed forces to command men. You are going to command men. You have to be equally good, if not more good than them. Only then you can command. SSB is tough because we are looking at various aspects of a personality of a person. We are not looking at one aspect. If you are looking at only हमें intelligent बच्चे चाहिए, तो we'll say okay, जितने 90% above है वो आ जाओ, सीधा इनको ले लेते हैं. We are not just looking at intelligent. We are looking at intelligent. Then we are looking at friendly person also. Then we are looking at he should be physically fit also. Then we are looking at he should be courageous also. He should be confident also. He or she. Right. So when we are analyzing this personality as a whole, and if a person does not have these qualities, then obviously he'll get out somewhere in some traits, some personality traits. He will not be fitting into the whole matrix of the things, and he'll get out. Because the country needs good leaders, and we will not compromise on the leadership. The Indian Army officers, Indian Navy, Indian Air Force officers have always delivered when the nation wanted them in war. That is only possible because the selection system is tough. And only those people who have good leadership skills will come in. Right. During the Kargil war, you found these young officers, Saurabh Kalia and so-and-so, this Mahavir Chakra, Parvi Chakra, who got. Young officers just out of the academies laying down their life for the nation. Imagine the amount of courage they had when they knew the bullets are coming from front and they are marching towards their mission. That is the kind of test the armed forces officers face. And that is the reason the system has to be tough, so that we take the right person who serves the country. Right? I hope I've answered your question.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
So after this, I'm sure you will not say the SSB should be easy.
No, sir.
Right? Because our armed forces need the best officers. And that's why SSB has to be the toughest. Okay? Yeah. Any more questions?
So the next one is from Riti Rupa Acharji. Riti Rupa?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, go ahead.
Good afternoon, sir. Thank you for the presentation. Sir, I wanted to know about the serious exam because sir, as far as I have learned about the UPSC series, it's the eligibility or the criteria are quite different for the boys and the girls.
No, 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 no. That is not correct. It is the same eligibility, of course. Eligibility is as per what service you are joining in. If you're joining for short service non-technical, then there is eligibility for short service non-technical, the age and other things. So you are the same thing you have to apply. And if you're joining in the technical branch, then for the boys and girls, the eligibility is different from the non-technical. So that is the only difference. And for the UPSC exam, the eligibility, the syllabus, everything is the same for OTA. It has got basically two papers, GK, General Studies, and General English. The maths paper is not there. Maths paper is only for Permanent Commission for IMA. CDS, OTA, you can tick, there are only two papers, right? General Awareness and English. So it is the same. There is no, I don't think there is any, this only difference could be between the technical and non-technical, which would be having a difference of age, right?
Yes, sir.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Girls, are there any more questions for sir?
So in case there are more, questions or any time, you can follow me on Insta at this. I'm typing it on this AMAS training channel. You can follow me here. There are 13,000 followers. You can add on to some followers from Loreto. And you can ask me, I answer every query on Instagram personally myself. And of course, the YouTube channel is AMAS training, where I can't answer you directly, but here you can get a lot of information about SSB and how to train yourself for it. I've typed both the things, so you can see it. And in case there are any queries which come to you in your mind at a later stage on Instagram, I will answer you. Just give reference of this webinar, then I'll recognize you and I'll answer each one of you there. Right.
Thank you so
That's
much,
all.
sir. I'm sure there'll be a lot of students following you now on Instagram from our side.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Sister, would you like to say a few words?
Just give me a second. I'd like to thank Colonel Singh for the sharing he's given us. I have learned something listening to you. I'm sure our teachers can say the same. You've come a long way. It's a struggle, but it was worth it. And the same to you, my dear lassies. It'll be worth it. Not just for the name and the fame and the honor you get, but it proves commitment, dedication to the nation, to each other, and above all to yourselves too. But this means you need to stretch yourself. We can't be complacent. We need to stretch ourselves. See how much we can go by way of preparing ourselves for the army, for the armed forces. I'm sure you've seen that from Colonel Singh. You've seen that from your teachers in a different way. I pray that you learn from this, learn by observation, so that you can make a mark for yourself, God willing, in the Indian Army, else wherever you go. Because what Colonel Singh has shared with you is not just only for the Indian Army. It is a preparation for life, for employment, employability, anywhere in the world, anywhere in our own country. Colonel shared with us about how he went for an interview and was selected, and he chose not to take on that job, but to join the Indian Armed Forces. So to my dear students, you can have the choice of where you want to be working, or whether you want to be an entrepreneur. All is in your court. It depends upon how far you practice dribbling with the ball, throwing the ball, practicing with yourself, preparing your mind, your heart, your intellect for what you want to do. I wish you well, my dear lassies of the third year class. I am sure you will do well. This is just one of the little stepping stones for you, graduation. Hereafter you'll fly. For all you know, this is just a launching pad for you to fly and fly high. Ladies, I wish you well. I wish you a happy puja. I won't be seeing you till, I think, the 7th of November. I'd like to thank Colonel Singh for sharing of his experience. It wasn't expertise, it was your own experience. What you've been through, what you've seen, what you're doing with young students, preparing them for the armed forces. While thanking you, I wish you well. I pray that you continue to inspire students as the days go by. Continue to make a difference to young people's lives. Continue to show them the way to commitment and dedication, the way to a bright future. And this bright future has the Lord in the background, sometimes in the forefront, because we all need the Lord wherever we go. Thank you so much, Colonel Singh. Thank you, Sumedha. Thank you, Nityadev, Dr. Sahai, and where is our Srijit? And somewhere there. Thank you so much for joining us along with our young lassies for this program. God bless you so much, Colonel Singh, and teachers. I guess I'll meet you sometime just to wish you all the best for the futures.
Thank you very much, ma'am. It was my pleasure to interact and answer these questions. And please give me permission now to leave.
Sure. God bless you.
God bless
Thank you. And Jai Hind to everyone. Jai Hind.
So on behalf of Loreto College, Kolkata, I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to Colonel Dr. Mohinder Pal Singh for his excellent session. Thank you, sir, for joining us today. I would like to thank our principal, Sister Christine Coutinho, for her support and encouragement in organizing this session, our academic and administrative officer, Mrs. Sharmila Mitradeb, for organizing the program, and Ms. Donna Chung and Mr. Shomik Bondopadhyay for their technical assistance. Thank you to all the students for joining us today and making this interaction a success.